Let's get September finished. Got a heck of a race going on here in both divisions. Let's take a look at what's been happening. Manchester 2.5 up. Union Stewards up 3 on Real. So let's see what happens on the 16th. Seeing as the Masters on, and I'm looking forward to watching the back nine of that. It's really good. Let's zip through this. We'll get to maybe the last few days and see if there's a key matchup. Manager files have been loaded, and here's Gary at St. Louis. Gary trying to be a spoiler of sorts, and not this time. St. Louis with the win. Woo! Edmonton 13-11 over the Union Stewards. Chicago over Beantown. Lehigh beats Manchester. Washington takes a loss. San Francisco. Crystal Lake beats Vegas. Real loses to Lancaster. Look out! And Carolina winner. So Real has been struggling. Oh, Bernie did a broadcast last night and they did not fare well, so I haven't started off any better for David. Manchester now heading into St. Louis, a game and a half. And Manchester, a key win. Hammaker with the win. Union Stewards beat Real, and now the Union Stewards have moved 4 up. This is going to be a great matchup here. Philly, 6-2. Lehigh beats Gary. San Fran, a winner. And Washington, a win. Edmonton over Lancaster, and Beantown over Carolina. So Chicago, Lancaster, and Carolina all pretty close there, trying to see who can get into that third playoff spot. Here we go. Philadelphia at Chicago, and Chicago loses. They've been on a little bit of a downslide. Gary beats Lehigh. Carolina loses. Manchester beats St. Louis. Washington, a loss. Lancaster, a win. And Real with a win. On to this day, the 19th, Edmonton a winner. Lehigh wins. Gary. Crystal Lake. Could the Killers be spoilers as they beat Manchester? Real gets a key win there. Washington shuts out St. Louis. Union Stewards a big win as they pull or they keep a comfortable lead in first. And Lancaster gets a win. Lancaster now in the playoffs. Union Stewards, man, they're on a roll. Edmonton a winner. Lehigh 10-5. Gary wins. Manchester shuts out Crystal Lake. Real a win over Carolina. Washington beats St. Louis, and Lancaster another win. As we move on to the 21st, let's take a look at what we've got. St. Louis and Washington figuring out who's going to be second and third. Can either of them catch Manchester? Union Stewards and Real looks like they might have second place. Chicago needing a win, they get a win. Vegas beats Lehigh. Lancaster a win. Real a win. On to the 22nd. Crystal Lake going into St. Louis. St. Louis gets a win. Carolina a win. Lehigh a winner. And Edmonton spoiling Real's chance with a 3-2 victory. So on to the 23rd we go. St. Louis wins. Stewards win. Manchester a win. San Fran. Philly. Chicago beats Lancaster. They're only a game and a half back. Real a winner. And Washington clobbers Vegas 19-7. On to the 24th. Washington. Crystal Lake. Union Stewards. Gary. Carlos, I know you're in here. Gary is going to be a spoiler of sorts as they beat Manchester. Lehigh loses to San Fran. Philly a win. Lancaster a shutout. And Edmonton beats Real. Getting tight. Squeaky bum time. Manchester 6-5 over Washington. Union Stewards a winner. San Fran, Real, Gary, and Carolina. What do we got? Looks like the playoffs might be set. Chicago could catch Lancaster. And who will get second? The home field advantage between St. Louis and Washington. That's what it really looks like. And again, I would play some of these games out, but the Masters is on, so what the hell? And I got hockey later tonight. We'll get the hockey playoffs rolling. St. Louis a winner. Real, Lancaster, Chicago, Philly, Crystal Lake, and Gary. Gary winning down the stretch. Chicago a winner. St. Louis, Real, Carolina, Washington, Manchester, and Philly. So 3 days left in the season. St. Louis and Washington dead tied. Chicago beats the Stewards. Real now a game back. Lehigh beats St. Louis. Real loses. Lancaster a win. Gary's on a roll here at the end. Manchester loses, so we got 2 days left. Well, I think three because there's actually October 1st. Let's take a look at it. Manchester looks like they're in the driver's seat to win. St. Louis and Washington, who will take second? And can Real actually catch the Union Stewards? They get their win. St. Louis does. Carolina, Washington, and Beantown. So on to the 30th. Edmonton spoils it and beats Real. Crystal Lake beats St. Louis. Carolina winner. Manchester just does get by Gary. And here we go. Final day of the season. Philly a winner. Chicago a winner. San Fran a winner. Edmonton, St. Louis, and Washington are tied. So Clue will have to go to the tiebreaker rules and all that and figure out who gets the home field advantage. Stewards a winner, and Manchester wins. So just like that, the end of the regular season. Congrats to everybody that's in the playoffs. Manchester Union Stewards with the bye. Real will host Chicago. And it seems like St. Louis might host Washington based on their ranked here, but sometimes that doesn't mean shit. We'll let Clue figure that one out as to who gets which one. Well, at least I'm not the lowest lottery ball option in there because it looks like that will. No, I am. No, Lancaster missed the playoffs. So Lancaster will have the fewest amount of balls in the lottery draft, and then me. So at least I'm not in that horrible position, but we'll look at that. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 10 teams will be in the draft lottery. And we know, I think Mike Silva got that as one of the better teams with a 5% chance. So congrats, everybody. I'm going to zip the file. Well, I'll just keep it the regular name. I'll start the zip. I'll post it when that's ready. And once Clue determines who has the home field advantage, St. Louis or Washington, then we'll get the brackets set up and post a playoff file for those teams in there. So happy draft research for those looking at next year. We have 1934. I'm going to forget now. Shit, can't even remember. Oh, 1934, 1975, and some other year. 1999, I think. So have fun with the draft research. Anybody watching the Masters, have fun with that, because that'll be me. And then later tonight, I'll be back on with some hockey playoffs, the first round.